And we're going to bring on the first guest. And I need to find out if this is her first book, which I think it is, but I'm not exactly sure. Her name is Katie Mitchell. But Katie, I'm gonna wait till she comes on camera because I want to make sure that she knows that I'm saying these things about her in her book. Um, but Katie has written an amazing book, and um, I have my copy of it. It's called Pros to the People, and it's a celebration of Black bookstores. And it's an amazing book. Um, Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, Katie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Yeah,
being
Katie
here.
contacted me. Was it like a year and a half ago when you contacted me?
It's a blur.
And you told me you were writing this book, and I referred you to a couple of bookstores. I think it was a year and a half ago or something like that. It might be 2 years ago.
You know,
Um,
I'm just keep going.
yeah, it does. We were just saying it. We can't believe it's May already.
Time flies. It goes too quickly.
But this is an amazing book. I will say I was very pleasantly surprised. Not that I didn't think it would be a good book, but I didn't realize it was going to have well, first I wasn't expecting hardcover. That was one thing. And I wasn't expecting all these amazing photos. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just it's about actually existing stores, some amazing photography. It's really a coffee table book, but it's not a coffee table book price, which is great.
Thank you.
That
So is
that's
this
a
your
that's
first?
huge.
Yeah, is this your first book?
This is my first book. It's my debut.
Wow. Okay. Well, but you are a journalist. I was reading your bio. You have been in the writing. You have been writing for a long time. You've been in the field a long time as far as the writing.
Yeah, I've been doing different types of writing. My first book, but I wrote for women's magazines. I wrote for tech companies, wrote while I was in college. So it all was leading up to this.
But what inspired you to do this project? Because I mean, it's a great project. We talk a lot about Black-owned bookstores,
Mhm.
um, and how they have shrunk in number. But is that what inspired you to do this?
Well, I mean, as a bookseller and someone who is a customer of Black bookstores, I saw how transformative Black bookstores have been in my life. And
Yes.
I see them as transformative as the Black church or Black colleges, but I found that they were understudied. And I thought it was really ironic that the story of the Black bookstore hadn't been told in book form, because they hold our stories, but no one had told theirs until prose. So that was the impetus for me starting to go on this journey with Prose to the People.
Now, probably I want to say half of the bookstores in this book, the owners have been on this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, it's the existing ones because I
Right.
think you have a couple listed that are not no longer in business. Is that
Right. Yeah. So
correct?
I went all the way back to the 1830s with the first Black bookstore, which is D. Ruggles Books in New York City. And then I moved throughout the century and the decades up into present day.
Okay, so that was I was did have the right assumption in that regard, but you break it down by region, and so you have them listed in the beginning by region, and it's an amazing book. In fact, my best book customer, who I mention on this show often because she's been we had a brick and mortar store for 10 years, and we still um, I still have some book customers that will order through us, order their books. She's 82 years old. She lives
Oh,
in New York. She orders books often. And I told her about your book and she ordered it. So,
oh, thank you.
hell, because I knew she would want it because
Hmm.
she is really a book connoisseur and has been like her whole life. And she buys books for everybody in her life. She never got married. She doesn't have any kids, but she will order books for her nieces, nephews,
Hmm.
his grandnephews, extended people, and her old friends that she's known for years, she orders them books as gifts, and she's been doing it for a very long time. So, what, what my question about the book itself, did the publishing company decide they wanted to make it like this substantial a project, or did you have to persuade them that it needed to be?
So when I pitched the book, I definitely underestimated how much would be in the project. And I think that was a good thing because if I knew all the work that was going into it, I don't know if I would have been that, gung ho about doing that. So I knew that I wanted it to feel like a Black bookstore. So when you talk about you love the pictures, um, and all the ephemera that's in it, that was something that I knew that I wanted because when you go into a Black bookstore, you see a lot of different pictures, you see art, you see the book covers. There's different genres, there's poetry, there's essays, there's interviews. You're not just hearing from one person. So that's why I made sure that it was an anthology as well. And that's why I wanted to have the pictures in there. But I learned so much while I was doing the research for the book. And I was like, wow, I found out about this other bookstore that I didn't know exists. Like they have to be in it. So it kept growing and growing and growing until what we see today.
Oh,
So
okay.
did you physically visit each of these bookstores, or did people kind of submit to you?
So I visited most of the bookstores that are presently open that have full profiles, but some of them did submit pictures. I wasn't able to get out to like Portland and Houston, places like that. But I went to a lot of cities with the photographer and, met with folks and interviewed them some more and took pictures. So it was a good time.
Well, I haven't read the book yet, but I absolutely want this book. But I've got to ask, we have some historic Black bookstores. Some one or two are still open, many are closed in New Orleans. Is New Orleans represented in the book?
It is, yes. Community Book Center. My
Yes, yes.
Vera and Jennifer, Mama Vera and Mama Jennifer, yes.
Yes, they are staples in New Orleans. I was really hoping that they would be included in this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they when I was looking through here just to name some of the ones that have been on the show, um I know we had Harriet's book, the Harriet's
Yeah.
bookshop. She was on, and the one in Brooklyn, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Adanne bookstore.
Donna,
Adani. They were on the 43rd,
44th and 3rd.
44th and 3rd booksellers.
Yep, in
They were on.
Atlanta.
So we've had a good number, not Hakeem's
Oh, nice.
bookstore in
Hmm.
Philly, and Marcus Books
Yes, well, I
Great.
was just about to say Marcus Books.
in California. He's in here, but the pictures are just like this is a picture of someone. I mean, it's very, very well done. I'm very proud of you for coming up with the idea, pitching it, and then just the way it was put together. It's just
Yes,
amazing. It,
Thank
like
you.
I say, it exceeded. I was blown away when I got it because I ordered it, and I was really blown away.
Thank you.
So have you done any touring with it? Have you gone to the bookstores that are in the book and done any signings?
Yeah, so I was in DC at Sankofa, which is right across the street from Howard, and I had a really great talk with Paul Coates, who was the owner of the Black Book in Baltimore, and he's also the founder of Black Classic Press, a former Black Panther and Ta-Nehisi Coates' father. So we had a great conversation with everyone in the store, including the co-owners. So that was really nice. And then I was just in Philly, speaking of Hakeem's, and I was in conversation with Miss Yvonne and Justin Moore, who is the manager at Uncle Bobby's, and then also the granddaughter of the Marcus Books founders was there too because she lives in Philadelphia now. So been having great conversations with the bookstores, been having fun stopping in there, signing books and all that good stuff.
Now, did you go through an agent when you pitched the book?
I did, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm just really thrilled. Now, why did you call it Prose to the People? Like what, how, where did the title emanate from in terms of the inspiration? Or was it your title? Was it the publisher's title? Was it a combination?
Yeah, so I was reading one of Langston Hughes's autobiographies, and he has a section in it called Poetry to the People. And in that section, he talks about traveling around to HBCUs in the South and sharing poetry with people that may not have had access to poetry before. So he'd be going to factories, he'd be at the railroad, the train station, just sharing poetry. And I thought about what I wanted Prose to the People to be. I wanted it to be very accessible. I wanted people to open it up and find it to be very beautiful and then get lost in the stories of our Black bookstores. And so that's where the I borrowed the poetry to the people and made it prose to the people. So as a little ode to Langston Hughes.
Okay.
Oh, that's really wonderful. Uh,
The book has only been out for about a month. How has the reaction been to the book? Because I'm quite sure that it's been very, very much welcomed with open arms.
Yeah, people are really excited. I was in Philly, which I'm from Atlanta, and I've been to Philly a handful of times, but I'm definitely no local, but they were just so excited for the book. They were so excited to see the Philly bookstores in there. That event sold out, which was really cool to see. And yeah, everywhere I go, people are really excited. I think they appreciate the work that went into it and the fact that I'm telling these stories and putting it in book form. Like I said, it hasn't been in book form before. So people are really excited. It was just in the New York Times book review and got a rave review. So that was really nice to see
Oh,
just the
that's
hard work
great.
paying off. And then people trusting me with their stories and it, being received well is really exciting.
that's great because that's not common, the New York Times
Mhm.
Book Review. And but it should have gotten rave reviews.
Thank you.
Um, what is a common thing when you interview the different people who have their bookstores? What's so a common thread that you heard from them in terms of their motivation, inspiration, and challenges?
Yeah. So in the introduction, I define what I mean by a Black bookstore. And I borrowed the definition from Rosemary M. Stevenson, who says a Black bookstore it doesn't just mean the bookstore is Black owned. It means that the bookstore specializes in Black publications. And what I found is bookstores and bookstore owners who choose to specialize in Black publications really have this commitment to literacy and to liberation for Black folks. And that's a theme that I see throughout, starting with David Ruggles in the 1830s, who was an abolitionist who helped free Frederick Douglass and set the tone for Black bookstores being sites for liberation in the United States, all the way to present day, to people like Sankofa, who are making sure that the community is really reading together and being educated together and just passing on that baton of literacy, throughout the decades. So that's one thing that I saw in all regions, in all the stores. It was really nice to see people's different takes on it and how they're using their interest and unique personalities to move that mission forward.
Lovely.
Hmm.
So, what what's next for you? I love asking what's next because I always wonder if it's going to be kind of a part two to it, or if you're going to go in a different direction and maybe feature something else.
Yeah, I've been getting that question and I don't know yet. It's like early days,
Yeah,
not
you just want to ride the wave right now.
yeah, it's like um but yeah, I'm glad that people are interested in what is coming next, but I just don't know yet.
There's nothing wrong with just enjoying the wave for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for a first book, this is a great, even if you don't write any more books,
Yeah.
this book is a great legacy to
Yeah, I
leave.
think it's something that's very much needed because people need to know where their Black bookstores are. They need to know that there are still stores out there that are advocating for them, that are spaces for them and by them. And I don't know, when I move to a city, I always try to seek out the Black bookstores. I don't know if everybody is that way, but that's just something that I like to do. I mean, just to go in there, and you're right, when you walk into a Black bookstore, it's a welcoming space. you feel something when you walk into these stores,
Hmm.
especially if they're well taken care of. The owners are usually the ones who are behind the register.
Right.
They can tell you about every book in that store. And that's not always a feeling that you get in other bookstores.
Right. Yeah. It's a really special institution.
It is. Um, there are different lists online with black bookstores listed. Oprah did a map where she had them on there. But I think this book will actually encourage people, especially when they travel. It will actually encourage people to visit bookstores that are in here because they can read about them and see the colorful pictures are very inviting. Just
Hmm.
they draw you in, and then you have just some other pictures like this is this is the South, but you have like looks like people doing crafts or working on something at a particular store reading. And so it's just really, really a beautiful book. I'm very excited. Uh, if I would still have my bookstore, which that would be a whole nother phase of my life if I still did. But it, I would have been very proud to be in something like that, including something like that. And you're right, there have been articles about it because, when we had our bookstore, we were featured in some articles, newspapers, and things like that. But having a book that you're featured in, just the way that it's done, it was just really, um, and you can give the a shout out for me to the publisher and congratulate them on being willing to invest in this project because this is an amazing project. I would encourage this is something that especially people who watch this show, this is a book you need because our show has book readers, people
Hmm.
in the industry. So it's a book that every person should have and it's great for traveling.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how I envisioned it when I initially pitched it. I said it would be a roadmap companion to Black bookstores. And people have told me it reminds them of the Green Book and they look at
Yes.
it before they go somewhere. So it's doing what I hoped it would do.
Well,
Okay.
now, Gwen mentioned articles, but your bookstore, which is an online and a pop-up bookstore, if you can talk a little bit about that concept, and then how your bookstore has also been featured in the New York Times, NPR, PBS. So you developed quite a following for your model. So can you talk a little bit about your model for your bookstore, and then how it was able to catch on the way that it did?
Yeah, so I have an online and pop-up bookstore called Good Books with my mom, Catherine, and we started it in 2019. And like you said, there's been a few articles that are, talking about good books, and I was really excited to bring people back into reading. I found that some people kind of look at it as a chore in adulthood. Everyone's
Yeah.
so busy trying to make money, just trying to make ends meet. And we kind of lose that love for reading after elementary school for some people. So a lot of my initial customers were people who used to love to read but didn't have that love anymore. So it's been really fun to see them get back into reading and discover new people. Nikki Giovanni, who wrote the foreword, one of my customers told me that I introduced her to Nikki Giovanni. And that was so special to me because Nikki Giovanni is someone who I just love as a writer and as a person and who I've known about, it seems, my whole life. But for someone, in their 30s, they may have never heard of her yet. And for me to be the person who introduces her to a new reader, that's really, really amazing for me. But I think it caught on just because of the curation that my mom and I were doing. Then, of course, during the summer of 2020, a lot of people were looking to read books and support Black businesses. So that was another way that people came to find out about good books.
I think it's very interesting the way you just glazed over Nikki Giovanni writing your
Yeah, I
foreword.
was going to say
Like
that.
that's just something that happens every day.
I was going to say, how did you get that hookup? How did that come about?
I just asked her. I didn't have a special hookup. Like I said, felt like I've known her my whole life, but she didn't know who I was. I'd met her a couple times just as a fan. But I told her what she meant to me, what her writing has meant to me through different parts of my life. And then also while I was researching the book, every bookstore that was around, I'd say from the 1960s to the early 2000s, had a Nikki Giovanni story, and they were all positive. And they were telling me stories, not so positive stories about other folks. So I said, okay, everyone remembers Nikki Giovanni positively at their store. So I think it's only right for her to have the first word in the first book about Black bookstores. And
Yes.
so she said yes. She was very gracious. She thanked me for offering that to her. And yeah, I'm so grateful that she's part of the project.
Yes, especially since we lost her earlier this year.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, is there any particular thing about the book that you would want people to focus on? Like we know the forwards by Nikki Giovanni. Uh, I know you had a bunch of acknowledgments in the back
Mhm.
of the book, and then in the inside there's newspaper articles. It's on the inside cover.
Yeah, that's from the Atlanta Daily World's archive, headlines about Black bookstores and Black books. Um,
Oh, okay.
mhm.
Wow. Okay. And
Yeah,
is
I
it
saw
both?
that headline right in the middle of the page that said Negro books.
Yeah, that's one of
Mhm.
the old headlines from their articles.
So I was looking to see if it was the same in the front and the back. It looks like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. But okay, so that's from Atlanta, the Atlanta paper.
Yeah, the Atlanta Daily World, which is a Black
Mhm.
newspaper in Atlanta.
Is that still exist?
Yeah, it does.
It does. Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
Well,
oh,
we
what were you
did
gonna
want
say?
to, I didn't want to overlook this comment by Aaron Coleman. He said this project is a passport and a time machine to Black bookstores, past and present. What a treasure. And then he goes, we love Negro books.
We sure do.
Yeah, that's what they used to be called. And Hakeem's bookstore, the owner Yvonne, who took over from her dad, said that the FBI was watching his bookstore because it was considered to be seditious or like an enemy of government or something. And so that's people that did bookstores back during that time, and I forgot what year it was, but there was just a marker recently in Philadelphia dedicated to Hakeem's bookstore as a historical landmark for Philadelphia. And so I think was it started in the 50s? Do you know off the top of your head? The
Yeah,
50s or
so
the 60s?
he started selling books in 1959 out of
Okay.
the trunk of his car. And then in the 60s, he got a brick and mortar space. But you speaking about the FBI, I think one of the things that I would love people to take away from Pros to the People is that there's so many lessons that we can glean from our ancestors and our elders who are in the book, because we know that book bans are um, increasing now with the
I'm
current
about to say they're real
administration.
again. We used to think that was a thing of the past, but it's coming back.
Yeah, and then Black books in particular are the ones being banned disproportionately. And I think sometimes it's easy to say like, oh my gosh, like what are we gonna do? But with Pros to the People, we see what our elders and ancestors did in the face of this type of oppression, like Duad Hakim's, who was, surveilled by the FBI. So the lessons are there. It just means we have to read them and take them and then run with it.
Right.
Mhm.
And as I remind people on the show, the books are not banned from the earth. We
Hmm.
can buy any books. A lot of them are banned from schools, but they're not banned from us buying them anywhere we want to buy them. So a lot of
And,
times the books that
and we're
are
doing,
banned end up being bestsellers
I
because
was
of that.
about to say, we're actually doing the author a favor when we ban the book.
I mean, it
Get a
has
nice
the opposite effect, and that's a good thing in terms of it really is a signal. This is something that we probably need to be supporting. So,
Exactly.
mhm. So I have one more question, and that is now, is research your forte, your background? Is that like one of your strong suits?
Um, I would say yes and no. I don't think it was my background in the sense that I was doing research for this project. I went to a research institution for undergrad and grad school, but it was more scientific research. But this caused me to do oral histories and being in the archives. But I think just organizing stuff and trying to get down to the story was one of the things that I was strongest at while writing Prose to the People.
Now, during the editing process, like when you presented what you wanted to the publisher, did they edit out? Did they tell you you needed to add what? How was that process? What was that like? Was it
Yeah,
give and take with the publisher?
right. They didn't give me that many edits as far as content. They let me have my own vision. It was more, line edits with grammar. Sometimes, how we talk. They're like, what are they saying? I was like, oh, I wrote it down right. They meant to say it that way. So it was things like that that we had to navigate.
Okay. Well, Katie, this is amazing. And so I want to encourage people to go out and get this copy of Prose to the People. It's a celebration of Black bookstores, and it's an amazing book. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for
Okay.
being here. We really enjoyed the conversation and best wishes to you.
Same. Thank you.